I want to go over the steps for graphing an ellipse. Now this is actually the one that we just put in standard form in the other video I have on completing the square. So the first thing you want to do with any of these conic sections is make sure they're in standard form. And it's going to be a lot easier to graph from standard form. Really, almost, unless you're using like a graphing calculator, it's almost useless to be in anything but standard form. So that's your first step, get it in standard form, which we did in the other video. Now once it's in standard form, I always start by finding the center and my vertices. So when I look at this one, my center is just like a circle. My center is going to be 1, -1. So all you're doing is flipping the signs on the x and y. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start graphing. And so my center here is at 1, -1. Now my vertices come from these, but they're the square root of them. So the x goes out square root of 4, or 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Those are my two vertices. So my first two vertices are at, let's see here, 3, -1, and -1, -1. Then this one is going to start again from this, but it's going to go up and down the y, 3. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that is, they're both going to be, they're +1. They're both going to be 1. And then this one goes down 4, and this one goes up 2. So one of them always has something in common with the center. Then all I do is connect the dots. There's my ellipse. And of course I know it's an ellipse because of this plus sign. Had this been a minus sign, it would be hyperbola. Now that I've found this, so at this point I put it in standard form, I found the center, found the vertices. What I do next is I find the intercepts. You're often going to be asked for the intercepts. So to find the intercepts in the original equation, how do you find any intercepts? Well, you're going to set x equal to 0 to find the y. So I'm going to get -1 squared over 4 plus, let's see here, y plus 1 squared over 9 equals 1. And now I have to solve for y. So this is going to become positive, so that's really 1/4, so -1/4. So I have not 1, y plus 1 squared equals 9 equals 3/4. Times everything by 9. So I get y plus 1 squared equals 27/4. Take the square root. So I get y plus 1 equals plus or minus 3 square roots of 3 over 2. So the square root of 29 is 9/3. Simplified that. Last step, move over that 1 so it's alone. So there are my two y-intercepts. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the x-intercepts. So I'm going to now set y equal to 0, and I'm going to get x minus 1 squared over 4 plus 1 squared over 9 equals 1. So move that over, that's 8/9. So I took 1/9, moved it to the other side, times by 4. X plus 1 squared equals 32/9. Because remember, this is over 1. Then square both sides. Plus or minus 4 square roots of 2 over 3. So that's 16 times 2. Add the 1 to both sides. There's my intercepts. Now, what you should do with your intercepts is you should crunch the decimals. Okay? So like this one, I crunched the decimals somewhere, is like 1.6 and -3.6. Then you should go back to this and go, does that make sense? Well, yes, okay, that looks right. Then you're going to do the same with the x-intercepts. Crunch the decimals in your calculator. Make sure they make sense. If they don't, this is when you go back, put in extra points, and go, okay, what did I get wrong? So this is like anything else. You can draw an XY chart and start tossing points at it. And so if something seems off, your x and y intercepts don't match, well, either you did the math wrong, or something else is wrong in your graphing, and that's when start throwing points at it. And you can always graph some extra points. I've already drawn in the graph, but you could wait till then. I usually, I know I have draw graph as step 6 on that list, but I usually do it right after I find all the vertices. And then I use the intercepts to check the graph. And then if I have a problem, I go back and look for extra points. And I might rearrange that here when I post the notes. So yeah, I'll rearrange those. Okay, next step is you're going to often on these be asked for a foci. So what makes it a conic section are these foci. To find the foci, you need to know what the major axis is. So the major axis in this one is whichever one's the longest one. In this case, that's the y, going this way, because 9's bigger than 4. That's really the only reason. So the formula we use for that is we need c squared equals, it's a squared minus b squared, where a is whatever is the biggest, so in this case 9 minus 4. 5. So c is plus or minus the square root of 5. Now what you do is you take your center, and remember our center was 1, negative 1. Okay, we need to be on our major axis. Okay, so we need to be on the y, so that means the x is not going to change. Okay, so coming back down here, this is going to be fine. This point, the y point, is going to be adjusted by the foci. And that should put, going back up here, the foci approximately like here and here. And again, graph them and make sure they make sense. But they should be whichever way your ellipse is longer, that's where they should be. Now if you were asked for domain and range, so domain is the x values. Well, the farthest one out here is negative 1, right? And it goes to 3. Range goes from, let's see here, it starts all the way down at negative 4 and goes up to 2. That's our domain and range. So as you're working through these, there's a lot of algebra in here. It's really easy to make an arithmetic mistake, so take your time. Be careful as you work through these. But that gives you an idea of how to graph it, as well as how to find the x and y intercepts, the foci, as well as domain and range.